Now, in North Carolina, onslaught of criticism against Pat McCrory, the governor there, for signing this piece of shit legislation that the Republicans in his state passed. There are threats of economic sanctions. A lawsuit has been filed. The largest corporation in the state joined the fight against a new law that has been, he signed it. Unlike Governor Deal, he signed it. That law eliminated the protections, the anti-discrimination protections for LGBT people. Eliminated it. Now, what happened was Charlotte, North Carolina, which is a progressive city, had passed an anti-discrimination ordinance that was very simple. It just said that the people could not be discriminated against because of their gender, their sexual orientation, whatever. I mean, why do we have to have these goddamn laws anyway? I'll tell you why. Because these religious bastards continue to push it. But Bank of America, which has its headquarters in Charlotte, announced late yesterday that its leadership was joining over 80 chief executives, including Timothy Cook of Apple, well, I guess so, since Timothy is gay, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, in objecting to the new law. Earlier in the day, the chief executives published a letter addressed to the governor saying, quote, such laws are bad for our employees and bad for business, end quote. Now, this is the bill that McCrory signed into law last Wednesday. What happened was on Tuesday, after the city of Charlotte had passed an anti-discrimination law that only applied to the city of Charlotte. But because that law, that city ordinance is what it was, because it was passed, these fuckheads in the North Carolina legislative body, I guess they got on the telephone or the Twitter feed or the Facebook or something, and they got themselves together and declared an emergency session of the North Carolina legislature because it's not in session. So they all got together Tuesday night and Wednesday, and by Wednesday they had written the law and handed the governor. The governor signed it. Ooh, goddamn, that was quick. It was called an emergency session of the legislature, and it was intended to overrule that city ordinance in Charlotte. So the governors of New York, Washington State, Vermont, among others, issued bans on most official state travel to North Carolina, as did the mayors of San Francisco, Seattle, and New York. The NBA implied it might move the 2017 All-Star Game from Charlotte. Oh, and by the way, Nathan Deal, our governor here in Georgia, never wanted to miss an opportunity, has already approached the NBA and said, well, listen, you ought to bring that game down here. God damn, you know, those people in North Carolina, they're just a bunch of bigots. Come on down here to Georgia. We'll treat you right. And your queers. Oh. And on Monday, the Lambda Legal, American Civil Liberties Union, ACL of North Carolina, and Equality North Carolina filed a federal lawsuit against McCrory, the state's Attorney General, Roy Cooper, and the University of North Carolina, challenging the law on behalf of two transgender North Carolinians. Now, Cooper, the state's Attorney General, I guess they had to file suit against him because he's the state's chief law enforcement officer, but he's already made it clear that he is not going to enforce the law. He's a Democrat, and he plans to run for governor against McCrory this fall. He held a news conference, and he said, the state's attorney general, that he refused to defend the new law in court despite being named in the case. He said, quote, not only is this new law a national embarrassment, it will set North Carolina's economy back. So the governor accused the Attorney General, Cooper, and other critics, including the White House, of taking part in, quote, a vicious nationwide smear campaign, end quote, against his state. And this is where these sons of bitches make me start cussing. Nobody did a goddamn thing to your state, Governor. You did it. You did it, you stupid asshole. You are the one who set your state up for criticism because of your bigotry. What's the matter? You can't pick on people of color anymore? Oh, having a hard time picking on women? Oh, having a hard time fighting immigrants? Oh, well, who's left? Oh, that's right, gay folk. Jesus Christ. In a video released by his press office yesterday, the governor of North Carolina, McCrory, accused the critics of this law of, quote, disregarding the facts, end quote. What facts? He went on to say in this video, quote, other politicians from the White House to mayors and city council members, and yes, our attorney general, have initiated and promoted conflict to advance their political agenda, end quote. See what I mean? You filthy, lying sons of bitches. Nobody promoted conflict to advance a political agenda except you, McCrory, and your fucked up Republican buddies in the legislature. But this is how they turn it around. This is how they just completely invert it. God. Astonishing. McCrory, see, when he ran for office as a moderate, to suck in the dumbass Democrats who went, oh, he's a moderate. Okay, click, I'll vote for him. He promoted himself as a pro-business moderate, but he has gone along with these right-wing fascist bastards in the North Carolina legislature because, see, he wants to have a second term. Now, before he took over, the last governor of North Carolina was a female Democrat. And North Carolina was, I don't know, to use the demographic talk that they use on the electric TV, North Carolina was a purple state. Sometimes it would go red, sometimes it would go blue, mostly blue. But 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was a Democratic Party-dominated state. So what did the Democrats in the legislature do to make the voters of North Carolina turn against them? Nothing. Nothing. Who the hell ever heard of a legislator from North Carolina? Nobody did. You know why? Not even the people of North Carolina. You know why? Because they just did the business of the state. That's all. Okay, let's take care of X. Let's take care of Y. Let's take care of Z. All taken care of? Oh, good. Let's adjourn. Until these filthy, stinking, right-wing Christian politicians come along and say, wait a goddamn minute here, and then started their campaigns one by one to defeat Democratic legislators from in their own home districts who could not believe, and you should have paid attention, boys and girls, because these right-wing Christian fascists will stop at nothing. They should have been paying attention, but they didn't. And they got their asses thrown out of office, and the rest of their body parts too. And then what took over was this fascist, right-wing, Christian-dominated, religious clutch of freaks who can invert language and say that because they passed into law a completely discriminatory piece of legislation, and now people are complaining about it, the people that are complaining about it are the ones that are causing all the trouble.